your team has almost thrown it away. All your fans have left because they're so embarrassed.
It's a symptom of like diminishing standards. United have just gone off a cliff.
Go Palmer! American! American!
You're taking away the chance of a club basically surviving for 2, 3, 4 years. It's really sad.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Football Trending. What a bloody weekend of FA Cup action we've had, and we are here to discuss it all. There's been ups and downs, there's been last minute goals overturned, there's been club accounts tweeting like fan accounts. It's been a hell of a weekend for football, and I'm so glad to be joined today by Ben Hook, social media manager of FootballJOE and Joe.co.uk, and just all round lovely guy. And Joel's back.
I'm back, baby.
Where were you last week?
Where was I last week? I was in Italy.
Yes.
I was, for work.
Pretending to work.
Not play.
Pretending to work.
Yeah. I was. It's lovely to be back. Ben, as a social media manager, what's your take on yesterday?
First off, I want to talk about the biggest game of the weekend. Actually, no, fuck it. Let's do it. As a social media manager,
Yeah.
you see that tweet go out from Nottingham Forest post match. It's a lively tweet. We'll get it here. 3 extremely poor decisions, 3 penalties not given, which we simply cannot accept. We warned the PGMOL that VAR is a Luton fan before the game, but they didn't change him. Our patience has now been tested multiple times, and FFC will now consider its options. It's saying that the refereeing standards in this country just aren't where they need to be. It's accusing of biases. I'm not sure we've ever seen anything that reactive that quick.
No, not from an official club. No.
So we'll take it back. As a social media manager, Ben, how did you...
What were you thinking?
What were you
How was your first day as Nottingham Forest media
social
manager?
media consultant.
first day on the account. Did you get... I almost got like...
It's like second-hand embarrassment.
Yeah.
100%.
big time.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think tweeting that referees have got things wrong is actually that bad, but it's like over the line of like bias. And I also think like Mark Clattenburg's involvement as like this fucking ridiculous role of refereeing consultant, where like the geezer's just picking up. When you think about like bullshit jobs, easiest money in the world, a football club's refereeing consultant is well up there.
Yeah, it's nearly as bad as being on Gladiators, isn't it? To be honest.
It's obviously come from above the social media manager's
Yeah,
head.
of course.
So
it's come
like,
from the owner.
Yeah. And I think it sets a bad precedent. And I think if I was in that position, I would just be like, LinkedIn. LinkedIn jobs Monday morning.
I was saying to Ben before we came on, the post is petulant. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
It can't go out. It's crazy.
The
thing is,
I kind of like it.
I
kind of like
the
it.
thing is, every team has had these decisions go against them this season. But that is also kind of, I think, the point that they are making. Like the last line of the statement means absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Like as Gary Neville said on Sky yesterday, there are no options. There's nothing to explore. Part of the problem with this whole situation and with the officiating this year as a whole is exactly that. There are no options. Because of the way that the PGMOL is set up and because of the structure and the power given to referees and officiating bodies, there is no follow-up. There is nothing you can do. But there shouldn't be.
It's bullshit to even...
You're right,
point was
but they should be
football
trusted to do the job. At the moment, all that happens is Dermot Gallagher goes on Sky, says they got it right / they got it wrong. And if they say they get it wrong, they put out a statement.
Monday morning, that.
The thing is, it is completely petulant and it's not the way to go about it. But I do think that post is a symptom of the problem. Like I think this is the first year.
No, I think the post is the actual problem. It's like implying bias and cheating, and it's like that's
it
where
is.
you get to like
this
abuse of referees, which makes it 10 times worse.
I'm not saying that they were right to put the post out. That is absolutely not the case. What I'm saying is the frustration is based on what has happened every single week, not just for Forest, for everybody.
If I had like a hot take, like a consistent unpopular opinion, I don't actually think referees are that bad. I think it's just the worst job in the world.
I agree. I think
like
social media...
The quest for consistency is bullshit because it's different refs looking at really, really different situations week in, week out, and they are different.
We're
and
living in a vast society.
they've refed that game differently to other games, so decisions have to have the context of the 90 minutes. And I think overall, refs aren't actually that bad. It's just football fans hate decisions going against them.
Stuck a load of CCTV on football. That's the way I see it. Like we're a bunch of like Like,
But I think
we
Clatt
just
should
tell
be-
on each other now.
Clattenburg should be removed from any referees union because
Yeah.
I think the worst
He's
thing about
abandoned his
it
people.
is they've obviously, like, Clattenburg as this refereeing consultant has obviously fed to the owner that the VAR is a Luton Town fan.
He said it again, didn't he? He sort of backed up. He labelled the penalty decisions a joke and repeated Forest's assertion that a Luton Town fan such as Atwell should not have been involved in the game. There's 3 penalty incidents, 2 involving Ashley Young.
All 3 involving Ashley
3
Young.
involving
Yeah.
Ashley Young. First one, what do we think?
I think they're all pens.
Let's spin through it quite
But I
quickly.
wouldn't
First one, penalty for you or not?
Penalty.
No. Second one,
Penalty.
the handball.
Nailed on handball.
100%
Yeah,
a penalty.
100%.
Third one,
Penalty.
penalty for me too.
Yeah.
But-
Comes through the back of him, doesn't get the ball. Hudson-Odoi gets his body there before him.
Yeah.
I think the first one, you've seen him given, you've seen him not given.
I
He
wouldn't-
does kick him,
Yeah.
but he's also moved his leg into position. Like, you've seen those given.
Yeah.
The other 2, I think they're kind of nailed on, right?
Yeah.
How can
But-
we not overturn the handball one?
Oh, right,
one,
yes.
Yeah.
100%.
That's the one that I would be pulling my hair out over.
Honestly, I don't know the fucking rules of football anymore, particularly when it comes to stuff
Yeah,
like
Of
because-
course,
handball.
because
Like,
then
it's just crazy.
obviously
I don't-
on Saturday we had the Grealish one,
which is also an absolute
Sunday,
nailed
the
on
Wan-Bissaka
penalty.
then,
one.
then we had the Wan-Bissaka one on
Yeah.
Sunday. So it's been I think the problem is, right, obviously the quest for consistency is one that is probably a dream.
Yeah, you're
right?
never going to get it.
But
ever.
there are certain things they can do to help themselves, like the Grealish one for me, penalty. The Wan-Bissaka one, probably not a penalty, and then the the Young one, a penalty. Like I think handball in particular has become just
But
by
I
the
think-
by,
I
like
think it will-
whatever seems to be de jour in that moment. It's like it would be quite fun to give this penalty in the 90th minute against Manchester.
I think so
United.
much of the problems come from, like, almost the scrutiny itself is the actual problem, because I think there are a lot of refs would ref it differently, and you get these it becomes like whataboutery, where it's like, what about that one that was
100%.
very similar?
Yeah.
Whereas actually I think refs are just doing the best they can in a league where it is so ridiculously scrutinized and so partisan
Yeah.
that actually they will never win. Refs, like, and there's also an argument, I think, like, refs should probably be paid more than they are, because I think you'd get
I've
more,
been
like,
banging this drum
competent
for years.
people in.
That's the thing. The issue is, how do you fix it? What steps can they actively take
You
in this
have
summer
to
to make sure
encourage-
this season doesn't happen again? You have to encourage
You
better
have
pay
to
for referees, you
encourage
do.
it to be seen as an art form, as
Yeah.
as football is
Yeah.
seen. Like, how can they? The other thing I think is they get paid a good wage. It's like
Yeah.
60 to 80k,
Yeah, it
right?
might
I
be
think the
slightly
best
more
ones can be
now.
about
Yeah.
100, right? But you're talking about dealing with the weight of the Premier League, especially, and everything, the social media. Your life is dominated by this, regardless. Because, I mean, you speak to most referees, I'm sure they're going to tell you that, yeah, you can't go to certain places, you can't do certain things. You have to at least build a level of equality between them and what's happening on the pitch. Because at the moment, people still feel like, well, you know, they don't earn massive bucks. They're a Luton Town fan. Of course they're going to... It's an easy narrative. I think we need to make it into like a really professional...
I also hate the
well-paid.
punditry on it as well.
Yeah, well,
I fucking like where they're all like, get ex-pros in the VAR. I'm like, professional footballers don't know the rules of football. Like, in terms of like the actual to the letter laws, they don't. It's like, having worked in it with footballers in League Two, they were as confused and were sort of regurgitating the same tropes that fans were, that pundits are. And it's actually, these guys are experts in the laws. It is just really difficult to apply law, like old laws, to the scrutiny and to VAR now, I think. And there's this like massive gap between what the laws did. And it's like, handball has been changed so much now that it's really tough for anyone to know what the actual law is. That's where the communication, I think, of PGMOL has massively failed in communicating why they're looking at certain things, and like those decisions have been really, really difficult to get right,
Look,
because they're all a bit confused.
With this
by
one,
it.
they're going to have to release the audio again, right?
Yeah.
For the 3 decisions,
Yeah.
because people need to understand why those decisions were made the way they are. We don't want Harold Wedd coming out this week and sort of saying, well, we made mistakes. We got it wrong.
but this-
You need
but
the audio,
they-
live feed,
Yeah,
This is,
audio,
listen, this is
in-ground.
kind of the point that I'm making. Again, going back to the post, it's petulant and it's not the way to deal with it. But we've seen all the way through the season that the referees are not held to account in an appropriate way. I agree that getting ex-pros on a panel is going to do absolutely nothing. Getting ex-referees in as a separate body that is independent of the PGMOL and that are not match officials, but having them in as a separate body, I think could well be something they try.
We sympathise massively with Forest fans, right? Because I think they should have had 2 penalties, but at the same time, I also sympathise with the social media manager who's getting that WhatsApp message being like, send this tweet now. We're calling everyone out. And he's like, maybe let's have a sleep on it. But
Gary Neville's right to say Clattenburg should resign because it's premeditated as well. That is the worst bit.
That role shouldn't exist.
I don't think there's any. Yeah.
What does a referee
bonus
consultant
does that bring to you other than you have someone who goes, well, he said that it was he said you fucked up again. It's like, it's just another person to also confirm your biases.
It's the chairman basically saying, like, tell me I'm not the problem. Tell me the refs are the problem. That is basically Clattenburg's
And
role.
I think
it's fucking embarrassing.
We can all agree. We just need a wider pool of professionalised referees. But who would do that to themselves? There was a massive, massive weekend of FA Cup football. Manchester United versus Coventry. Coventry were 3-0 down at the 60th minute, and I was feeling very smug about myself and the decision that I'd made to go to City, Chelsea instead, and speak to fans there. And then
you've made a very very big omission in your logic there. And it's the magic of the FA Cup.
The FA Cup proves me wrong, and I'm glad that it did, because I was sitting at home sort of like, oh, am I going to turn this off? Get the first goal back. Lovely finish by Ellis Sims. One that they hadn't had any quality in the game so far, and that was a great finish. Then the deflection. You sort of think, okay, here we go. And then, let's get to the penalty then, because it is relevant in the conversation we're having today. Obviously, ball's played into the back post, played back in, and Wan-Bissaka's arm is kind of out from his body, but not in an unnatural position. He doesn't move towards the ball, which I think is the rule. And then the penalty's given. I thought that's the sort of penalty Man United get.
Yeah.
What did you guys think?
I think there is an element where, like, everyone, I think refs are victim to it as well, where it's like, he wanted to give that.
It would be fun, wouldn't
it?
it?
Would be great.
And overall, it would be good crack, wouldn't it?
If that's part of the refereeing course where it's like, look, have a bit of fun with the game. I'm okay with that. Overall, as long as it happens to Manchester United in that scenario, have a bit of fun with it. Enjoy yourself as a referee. Go and give those decisions, those little 50-50s that benefit the little team. I'm okay with it.
So was it a penalty for you guys?
Nah, probably not.
No.
If that's a penalty, the Jack Grealish handball 100%.
Oh yeah, of course. And that's the commentary of the weekend, is right. Like, we had another weekend where there's a lot of indiscrepancies between the decisions, and that's where fans find that, like, really hold on to it. We go to extra time. Cov are well on top. Should have killed it in extra time. Score with the last kick of the game, and he's offside by a centimetre. I would say it's one of those decisions where the technology can't prove either way, and that's a shame for Cov.
Because if you look at the freeze frame, he's like scooping the ball, and the ball is like in 2 positions on the freeze frame. This is what I mean. And he's a toe length offside. If he's wearing a size smaller boots, then he's onside. I've always thought with offside as it currently is, without the semi-automated, the way you make linesmen really relevant is like a linesman's call. Like, when there is this grey area that we know exists with this like freeze frame and line drawing, it should be, look, the linesman on the pitch saw it one way or the other. Because like in cricket, it's much more consistent. Like even with the technology that shows that it was sort of hitting the stumps, the umpires call. So they're like, there is an element of grey. There is an element of like when it's not 100% accurate.
Tom Victor tweeted, "Rude of VAR to prioritise the rules over whatever's funnier." I think that's one where the drawing the lines off a Sky camera is like,
it's never
we've
actually
denied
bang
one
level.
of the best comebacks in FA Cup history because of some blurred lines. It then goes to penalties, and you could tell like some Manchester United fans had left, were scrambling to get back in, but I which is definitely always funny when that happens.
So good. It should
leave
be
early.
official
Never leave
policy
early.
among football trending. if we were writing a manifesto, first up is never leave.
Well, hold on a
match
minute,
early.
because a few episodes ago we had exactly this conversation, didn't we, off camera? And someone was like, "You should always be able to leave early if your team is shit." It was you.
It was me. Yeah, no. Sorry.
Disagree.
Sorry. If your team is 4-0 down in the 83rd minute, you can leave. If you're enjoying it, that's fine. But if you feel like it's damaging your health, your mental health, and you're sitting there and you're stewing, just leave. Anyway, that's by the by.
Man United fans leaving and trying to get back in,
and they were trying to get back in. Is definitely funny.
Anything with doing 2 goals is absolutely criminal.
Yeah, no. Okay, I agree with that though.
Yeah.
We'll go to penalties. Some of the behaviour I thought was interesting. So Fernandez is giving it to the Cov goalkeeper at one point.
After his penalty.
After he scored his penalty.
Yeah.
So that suggests...
I think that was because the Cov keeper was giving it to Fernandez as he's walking up.
Okay,
that's fine. I noticed that the commentator didn't say anything about that, and I was like, to be fair, that Cov keeper has just been shouting at him on his walk up.
Okay, so he's saying something. Yeah, fine, we're fine with that.
Fernandez. Okay, off the hook.
Onana?
Not having it.
Onana giving it to the...
I can't remember which taker it was.
Yeah.
But United were desperate to win the penalties at that point because of how embarrassing they've been. They were embarrassed to win it as well. Like, I think the most embarrassing part of it is the next one is Antony giving it to the Coventry players when he come on, done literally fuck all, and then is like giving it out to this set of like obviously professional footballers, but lads that had literally been like basically the best of football is what Cov showed in the last like 60 minutes, including extra time. Like that is what football is all about. Yeah. To then go out like to give it like the fucking ear cupping treatment is fucking embarrassing, and I think it does show like it's a symptom of like diminishing standards. Like you talk about classy football clubs, I still think Liverpool have maintained class despite poor periods before Klopp. Like they were still the same club, and it had like that sort of like life running through it.
United have gone off a cliff,
and I think United have just gone off a cliff. The personality of player they've signed has been consistently awful. In context, sometimes you like it. Like Stones and Maguire did it against Colombia. With the context of that game,
very different context. Yeah.
Like Colombia had been digging at them in the 2018 World Cup, digging at them all game.
It was a nasty game, that one.
Yeah, like gamesmanship all the way through, like real digs all the way through it. So it's like fair enough, you've won. Give it back. Also, this is the complete polar opposite.
Context as well in that Antony came on and was pretty much a passenger.
Yeah.
And Coventry, I mean, they're not. Let's not. They're not some
not
lower.
minnows.
Yeah, they're a big championship team that one result away last season from being in the Premier League, but. You have had a bad season personally. Your team has almost thrown it away. All your fans have left because they're so embarrassed by what they've just seen that the Coventry fans were there long after the Man United fans had left. They started filtering out as soon as the last penalty went. It was more. You see, Højlund celebrated and turned around. No one's run from the halfway line. It was a result where just keep your head down, enjoy it.
Maguire did the right thing.
I don't believe in the clutching of pearls thing, right? Like, football doesn't want this, because I actually think the Onana stuff and the Fernandez stuff. I think in the penalty shootout you can do whatever you want. In a game, people give it back. But at that point, Antony, you've not been a relevant part of the game. You have not had a great season. I'd just be thinking, okay, keep my head down. The fans clearly a bit unhappy today, and sort of move on from this game. I don't know. Yeah, it just showed. It did show for me a lack of class.
Lack of respect for like. Basically, I thought the Cov players deserved to actually be like clapped off by the United players.
100%.
Like they were that good for that 60 minutes. Like I thought once O'Hare scored the deflected goal, he looked like an absolute player. He was like just
he turned it on, didn't he?
Like Lee Dixon was like, he's just picking up every pocket, and I was just like, everywhere you look, he's there, like driving them forward. I thought he was brilliant for that, because he'd been quite quiet and then come into the game, and it was I thought all of them deserved much more than what the United players gave them, like the respect they deserve as like fellow professionals.
Do you know what? I love my time at Coventry, and I was watching the game yesterday, and I was off my seat when that goal went in, and just. That is literally what it's about. That outburst, because you have to remember, the Coventry, what they've gone for as a club for the last 20 years, and to have that moment in probably one of the best semi-finals we've ever seen. The lad would have been dining out on that for the rest of his life. And the emotion, and then fans what they've gone through, and then to have it taken away from them, that was me. I made my mind up. I mean, if it was down to me and I was head of FIFA, I'd just get rid of VAR now because, that moment alone, I know he was offside by a fag paper, and I know Man United, if I was on the end of it, I'm trying to think if that was Chelsea or West Ham, one of my teams, I'd be gutted. I'd be on the floor. I've played in games where referee decisions has cost us, and it's heartbreaking, But I just think for football, it's a spectacle. It's something that it's emotion, it's passion. And genuinely, I was getting choked up because the Coventry fans, they went through it, the way that they sort of like celebrated their team, it was like it was incredible, and you just want that to have been the moment for them. All of them families going there, them Coventry fans would have been there, and that would have been one of the best day outs. Probably still had a great day out, I'm sure they did, but it would have been something that can bring them more together. And Mark Robbins has done a great job. I'm so pleased for everyone there. What a moment! It should have been the moment of the season.
On Saturday, we went down to Man City versus Chelsea, the other semi-final. And one of the big talking points around the game was Cole Palmer. Sold in the summer for a very good price. City got a very good price for him, but he's gone on to have a season I don't think any of us could have predicted. And we spoke to Manchester City and Chelsea fans about the England man and his season so far.
When I think about it now, watching City, their midfield, they could do with a profile like Palmer, do you know what I mean, alongside Foden. Chelsea are really benefiting now. I wouldn't be surprised if he scores 2-3 goals today. I thought he was going to have a big season when he came here and he scored against Arsenal, in the Community Shield. I was like, you know what, him, Foden, this is their season, it's their time to shine. 20 goals, I didn't expect that, you know what I mean? Nearly double figures in assists in the Premier League as well, I didn't expect that.
Does he start for England?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. If Foden plays on the right, he can play in the middle. If Foden plays in the middle, he can play on the right.
Good luck to him. I say good luck to him.
Isn't he great, isn't he? He is brilliant. And we don't begrudge him. In the background, in his last 2 years, he was given lots of opportunities to sign a contract, and he did not want to sign a contract. He made his choice.
His choice in the end.
He made his choice.
Do you think it was the right choice for him?
For him personally,
for
I
us,
think it was.
wasn't.
No, not the way he's popping those.
No. Hey. For us, he wasn't. But it is for him.
We don't give him bear him a grudge at all.
Is he Chelsea's best ever signing?
Go Palmer, ole, Palmer again, Palmer again.
He's a good lad, like, Joey, he wanted to leave, he left, it's fine.
I'm happy for him,
Also, if you cash in 40 mil for a player that's played, 17 games, something like that, it's good business.
I just hope Southgate plays him. Southgate is, I'm not lying, he's an unbuttered piece of white bread, I just hope that Southgate pulls out of the bag and starts playing players who actually have a bit of something about them. If how Southgate's a mildew,
ham and cheese all day.
No, he'll be unbuttered white bread and cheese with a bottle of water and ready salted crisps.
So for you, he has to start at the Euros?
Big time, yeah. Oh, the top, I reckon he's going to win the Golden Boot. And if he doesn't win the Golden Boot, he's still nearly up there. Why wouldn't you play him at the Euros,
Couldn't really care less. He's our reject. That's what he is. He never really wanted to be with us. Good riddance to him. We'll see what he does today. I don't really back him, if I'm honest.
Do you think City got it wrong selling him?
100%, obviously. I mean, he's fighting for the Golden Boot with Haaland, so, that just about tells you. But apparently he wanted to leave for about 2 seasons, so...
I don't believe that. I think he said it in the last season where Pep Guardiola was not going to offer him any fucking minutes, or he was going to offer him minutes off the bench. But now that he went to Chelsea and he has a stable ground to play at, he can go enjoy himself.
You've watched him every week. How good is Cole Palmer?
He's fucking amazing. Amazing. All the penalties that he's taken, by the way, saying that he's a stat padding for penalties is absolute bullshit, because at the end of the day, when he's scoring against Man U 3-3, big penalty. Against Arsenal, huge penalty as well.
100% record in penalties is not an easy feat to achieve.
He actually ended up having a very good game again. But in the end, it was kind of Nicholas Jackson was the storyline, right? There was missed chances, missed opportunities. I want to chat to you guys about Cole Palmer and the impact he's had this season, and then looking forward to the summer. We're at the end of the season. We start talking about who's going to make that England squad. Cole Palmer, where does he come into England's plans this summer?
I think Gareth Southgate is going to have to put his money where his mouth is. He has been very vocal, always is very vocal when it comes to international tournaments, that he picks players based on merit.
Yeah.
Doesn't always look that way when people like Jordan Henderson are still included in the squad, but he says he picks people on merit. You cannot argue with the season that Cole Palmer has had. He has had an absolutely ridiculous season. I wouldn't necessarily say that him, Bellingham and Rice is maybe the midfield that I would start with, but it's certainly probably the best on form.
The problem is you're lacking like an 8 that can play behind Bellingham, that's good enough to match, that's at the level of Rice and Bellingham in their sort of native positions. So I think we've all got a bit of a complex about like playing players out of position because like Paul Scholes out on the left, like back in like our childhood.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like, do you put players in that aren't playing there regularly for their clubs, or do you try and like, because you have to, it is Palmer versus Saka. If you're not moving players out of position. If you are, then there's also a debate where it's like, okay, you move Bellingham back, you put Foden in the 10. Like, you could do any which way. So I think I'm uncertain about whether he should 100% go. There's like no doubt, absolutely no doubt that he should be in the squad. He is in that top 5 players for those 3 positions behind the striker for sure. Like, he's not just a stat padder. Like, he takes very good penalties, and that's why he's up there for goal contributions overall. Like, they've been almost half his goals. In terms of his general play, he is an absolute joke.
I think he should play a big part, and I think the way that managers look at their teams now isn't as that first 11, which I think a lot of football fans do. They see it as a squad, what one player can bring to a game at a certain point, and also we can all look at Saka and say he looks tired, and a lot of Arsenal players look tired, and a lot of Liverpool players look tired, and so it's great to have these options. I don't think you need to necessarily. The starting 11 is just one game, right? And then the next game will be different. And the next game will be different. And I think you have to look at it like that.
And form is important when it comes to tournament football.
Yeah,
like far more important than it is in the league.
Like I said, the game was pretty rubbish. City Chelsea, pretty boring. Not a lot happened in terms of City looked tired after a really grueling. Pep brought it up. Grueling game in midweek. Going to penalties all the way against Real Madrid. And then
Bernardo Silva looks haggard. He came in interview, he was like, I'm so tired.
You know that Pedri meme where he's just kind of drinking Bernardo Silva looked like he'd run through a hedge. It's been his season, hasn't it? And
he's been the main narrative, I think, overall. Like, and I was disappointed for him that he didn't get he sort of did, but it was like, it wasn't his game.
Yeah.
It just didn't quite fall for him in the way that it has done maybe in other games, where in like the Premier League recently, where everything, a classic commentary, it was like everything he touched turned to gold. It was just nothing.
He was brilliant again though.
He played really well.
The amount of touches in good areas, the amount of pressure he takes off by sort of, I'd almost compare it to what Jamal Musiala was doing for Bayern Munich against Arsenal, where he comes deep and wins the ball and plays out from there. And his passing range is good. His vision's very good. Like, all around, a very good player. And I think I don't know if I said it on here before, but he was pitched to me in my last place where I worked. He was pitched to me, and he'd barely played for City at this point. And it was like, this guy is going to be. They were saying he's going to be the next sort of big English talent. And it was like, all right,
how many is City producing?
Fine. Yeah. And I was like, Foden was still breaking through at that point. I was like, I'm already looking forward to the next one. And fair play, because fuck me, has he sort of pushed on and grabbed it.
His goal against Everton last week, where the back heel 1-2 and finish, I think is actually my favourite goal of the season.
What did you guys make of the City fan then? Or the Chelsea fan, I should say. He did the interview, he rushed off, and then he came back and he was like, oh, by the way. And he sort of pulled his thing down. He was like, I've got Palmer on the back because I'm a Chelsea fan, but I couldn't get tickets in the Chelsea end. But City didn't sell out there.
We've all been there where we've all sat in the opposite end because we're desperate for a ticket. Buying a shirt or any memorabilia of another club is firstly needless and proper overkill, and also like goes against like the code of football fandom, which is just like you wouldn't wear an opposing team's colours. It's just weird.
To close out the show, there was a massive decision made at the back end of last week. The FA deciding to scrap replays in the FA Cup from the first round proper. The claim was that smaller clubs will still see revenue as more games will be televised from the first round. So smaller clubs will get revenue from that way rather than from replays. There was a discussion around, should clubs really be supported that much by the FA Cup? Should replays keep your club alive? But I think the problem is the EFL has come out after the FA said that it spoke to everyone about these decisions. The EFL has come out and said, well, we weren't spoken to.
You didn't.
We had talks at the end of last year where we didn't come to an agreement, and you've just pushed on with elements of this that we disagreed with. And we asked Manchester City fans and Chelsea fans, two of the biggest clubs in the country, this is going to affect them very differently to smaller clubs, how they felt about the FA's decision to scrap replays.
Yeah, it's heritage, man. Is what makes the FA Cup. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes the lower teams, if they're playing a tough game away, for example, if a League 2 team comes to the Etihad, they're going to be fighting for a draw because they want to take it to their home stadium. Bring a big club to a smaller team. So it really gets rid of that feeling of the FA Cup or what makes the FA Cup special.
Personally, I feel sad for the lower clubs. For you start off September. Those clubs need the money, and it just helps so many lower clubs, definitely. Even if, I know we're big, I know, but we've been low, haven't we, Pat?
Yeah, we've been there for 50 years.
Yeah, both of us.
50 years.
We're 65 and 66, and we've been going since we were 8 and 9, so we know what it's all about.
I actually think it's probably sadder for smaller teams because it's nice to get a replay back. Like if you get a draw away at the Etihad, go home to Stevenage or wherever, get the gates in. So it's actually probably bad news, but it's good news for us to play less game.
They should not be scrapping replays. Think about the small clubs. They deserve to get replays.
Well, I feel bad about the smaller clubs, you see, because it's a good idea for the smaller clubs. Because when they somehow get a draw at maybe their own ground, then they've got a chance to fight it out. But scrapping it's not really a good idea.
As well, the revenue from those bigger games, definitely need that.
Well, I disagree with that decision 100% because, small teams need a bit of cash, let's be honest. And that's how they get their cash. It's the replays at home, broadcasted on TV, they get the TV money, let's be honest.
Ben, I know you felt very strongly about this.
My initial reaction was just, it's really sad. Really sad because having worked when I did sort of work experience at uni, I worked at Eastleigh on like Saturdays when I was, did it for 2 years. Both years we had Bolton in a replay, played them at home, drew Bolton away, and then we were away at Swindon where I went on to work and we beat them in a replay. And I just think it's like, what the point is, it's not about the revenue per se. It's actually no lower league club, no like League 1, League 2 and below club should be relying on the revenue from the chance of a replay. That shouldn't. Sure. That's not what we're saying. It's actually more about the magic of the FA Cup. Sort of these quirks, these like weird things that have happened in the oldest club knockout competition in the world. So it's like it's sad. It's not necessarily about the finances, although there is an element where you're taking away the possibility of a club, I don't know, with 250 grand of TV revenue and ticket money from away at Old Trafford in a replay. You're taking away the chance of a club basically surviving for 2, 3, 4 years because you've taken away that chance. I think the really bitter part of it is in the original statement, it was specifically about the expanded Champions League. Yeah. And that is an indication that it's basically football for the few, not the many. Because Klopp has been, and like I like Klopp as like a person within football, but where I've really not enjoyed his inputs has been when he's been talking about FA Cup replays, but he spoke about them at the start of the year where it was like they should be abolished. And it's about Liverpool or City's or Arsenal's ability to go and win the treble, the quadruple. And I just don't think you should be able to without it being really, really difficult.
100% agree.
Doing that should be, you have to go away to dog and duck in the FA Cup with a replay, play twice against
dodgy ground.
Like it should be, it's like, it's uncodified. It's not written into our rules in the same way that like the NFL draft is built to level the playing field and it's in their rules. Yeah. It's unsaid, it's uncodified, but it's how it should
Well,
be, and
also,
it should be difficult to do all these things. And I think that's the bit
agree.
that really fucking
and it's also
pissed
like
me off.
these clubs have huge academies. You know, they send the under-21s into the under-23s into the EFL Cup. Well, no, use them for the FA Cup.
Yeah.
Then, like, if it's really that difficult to balance the squad and to keep everyone fit, we need to be on every single. I totally agree. Use the younger kids. That's what the cup competitions are always there for. And I think it's a real shame. And I don't think it's the end of this, by the way, because the EFL do not
I could see a
seem happy.
U-turn, and like because the amount of statements from EFL clubs, because they've all referenced like a lack of consultation. Like we don't know what's gone on.
Yeah.
And there is like some good things where it's like, okay, there's more money for grassroots football, they've said, but it does feel like a bit of like we know this is going to be unpopular. Here's a little token gesture where nobody really sees where that goes. Like on a big scale, you might see it if you're at that level where you've received the funding, but I just overall I was just sad about it, because you do get some great memories in these replays, and it shouldn't be, your club shouldn't be built on the money from them, but it takes away that possibility, and it does just like diminish the value of the FA Cup that little bit more.
And we saw this weekend the FA Cup is bloody special,
It is
right?
fucking
Anyway,
magic.
look, that's all the time we've got today. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, make sure to comment what game do you want us to go to next weekend. Get involved, and we'll see you in the next one.